Okay guys, so I have another story time for y'all, and this is probably the craziest, most fantastically scary story that you will ever hear in your life. Like, after this you will probably be left with irreversible trauma that you will never be able to get over in your entire life. Oh my god, I probably shouldn't even be telling you, maybe it's too much. No Anna, you shouldn't. Okay, never mind, I'm going to tell you because I know if I don't you all will literally not shut the up about it, so here goes. Basically, I have always had a very up and down relationship with my grandma. She is a strange and mysterious woman who I have never fully been close to at any point in my life. I remember when I was like 5 years old, my parents went on vacation to Paris, but they didn't want to take me because they said that I was an annoying brat that could not stand not getting my own way, and so they didn't want me to ruin their vacation with my behavior. Honestly, I don't even get where they were coming from. I was literally such an angel when I was a little kid and would never dream of hurting anyone's feelings. All I remember that can back up this point is that I was really scared of going on a plane. But in my defense, a couple years after I was born there was a certain incident involving a plane that ended horribly and resulted in the deaths of thousands of people, and I was living in New York at the time, so you can't really blame me for being cautious and looking out for my own safety. But my parents didn't change their minds, so they decided that they were going to leave me at my grandma's house and I would have to stay there for a week until they got back. At this point I had only seen her a few times since she lived on a farm in the middle of nowhere miles away from my parents' house. And when I got there she was super amazing and kind, and she gave me candy, which I thought was nice because at her big age there was no way that she was eating candy when her blood pressure was higher than the altitude of the plane that my parents were in. So I took the candy and then we watched lots of her old lady TV shows. Then once my parents had arrived in Paris she started acting strange. She would constantly tell me that my parents weren't coming back and that they had moved to Paris to get away from me and I would be stuck on this farm to look after my grandma forever until she died. This obviously upset me a lot because, like I mentioned before, I wouldn't have been any older than 5 or 6 years old. But as you know, I have always been an optimistic person and I thought it wouldn't be so bad because this elderly disintegrating hag would probably be dead within the year and then my parents would have to come back to get me since there is no one else in my family who would be able to take care of me. She then stopped giving me candy, and instead she would just feed me nothing else apart from cake. Lots and lots of red velvet cake. As you can imagine, I wasn't really bothered about this because what kind of child doesn't like cake? Well, it was all fun and games, but by the third day, I had eaten red velvet cake for breakfast, lunch and dinner 3 times in a row and I was starting to feel really sick. It got to the evening and I had just finished a big slice and then she told me that she was going to bingo and she was going to take me with her. I didn't want to go because I really felt sick, but she said that if I didn't go then she would make me sleep in the shed in her backyard, which is full of huge spiders that she said would crawl all over me in my sleep and eat at my flesh. Now I am literally the biggest animal rights activist, save the turtle girl, that you will ever meet, but I don't have time for spiders. I don't trust anything that walks on more than 4 legs. Having 8 legs to me is a huge red flag, and I don't think that spiders can be trusted because honestly, what do you even need that many legs for? It's giving hoarder love, it's giving Charlotte's Web Stephen King remix. So I bared through the pain of my stomach, which literally felt like it was being suffocated in a sugary sweet red velvet nightmare, put my hair into my iconic space buns that I was serving with way back when, and got in my grandma's rusty prehistoric car to go to bingo. We arrived at the bingo hall and I was actually pretty excited to play bingo and win some cold hard cash money, honey. But as we entered the building, a woman working at the front desk said to my grandma that I couldn't come in. She asked why and the woman said that basically you have to be 18 to play bingo because 5-year-olds for some reason aren't allowed to gamble. I found this completely stupid because I literally had 12 cents to my name and was hardly going to come out with a life-changing jackpot. But the woman would not budge and that I would not be permitted to enter the building. Now you would think at this point that my grandma would just accept that she would have to miss a night of bingo, and go home and we could play one of her stupid ancient games like Scrabble. But no, my grandma is not a sweet, caring, loving old lady. She is a ice-cold, stone-hearted woman that has probably never felt empathy in her entire life, so she told me to just wait outside while she went in to play bingo and she wouldn't be long. There are so many things wrong with this. First of all, I am a small child being left alone in an unknown neighborhood where anyone could snatch me off the street and kill me. Second, this happened in the middle of February, so it was cold AF. Like sub-zero kinda cold. And I didn't bring a coat because I thought that I would be in a nice warm bingo hall surrounded by my grandma's fossilized friends eating an actually nutritious meal. But yet again, I looked for the positive in the situation and trusted that my grandma wasn't going to be long like she said. This is where I learned never to believe old people, and it's probably where both my trust issues stemmed from, and my disliking of old women like my grandma. Maybe this is why I ended up in beef with a vegan teacher, because I think she and my grandma are probably the same age. Time went by, I kept looking at my pink glittery watch that I got from Claire's, and seconds became minutes, which became hours. I literally thought several times that this would be my last day alive, which is something that I think my grandma should be the one worrying about and not her 5-year-old granddaughter. Finally at midnight the bitch appeared and she did not look happy. She had spent all of her money in the bingo hall because her arch nemesis from the next town over was in the bingo hall, and my grandma wanted to show off in front of her but didn't end up winning a single dollar. She told me to get in the car and said that she couldn't stand the sight of me, which I thought was a little bit rude considering she isn't even mid herself. But sticks and stones and freezing cold temperatures in the middle of February may break my bones and give me hypothermia, but words will never hurt me. At this point I was honestly just happy to be going home so that I could get into a nice warm bed, but oh no, my grandma was in a terrible mood and she was determined to take her anger out on me. So when we got home she said, "Anna, tonight you're sleeping in the shed and you're staying in there for the rest of your life." I was hysterical. Oh honey, I was literally giving an Oscar-winning performance, wailing out into the sky like Sarah Paulson in American Horror Story. I'm pretty sure my parents could probably hear my screams at the top of the Eiffel Tower. I made my way into the shed, and as soon as I entered my grandma slammed the door shut and locked me inside. In the shed there was nothing but a mammoth human-eating nightmare fuel spider staring at me, and of course, a slice of red velvet cake, which I assumed was to last me until my untimely death. I sat on the wooden floor, which gave me splinters, and cried in the freezing cold, eating my cake, waiting for my body to shut down and pass out, resulting in my rotten corpse becoming food for the 8-legged beast that was staring at me from the corner of the shed, when all of a sudden I heard the door open. It was my grandma. I was so confused, but before I could try and logically reason why she came back, she rushed me into the house. And as I entered the living room I saw my parents sitting on the dusty couch. I asked my mom and dad what they were doing here since they had only been gone today, and they told me they were going for a week, and they told me that basically they had to take an emergency flight back home because apparently there was a huge blizzard on its way to Paris, and if they didn't leave then they would be stuck there for weeks. I immediately started bawling. It was like I was sitting in an onion cutting factory. The amount of tears that were rolling down my face were literally making a huge wet patch on the old carpet, which was probably the only moisture that it had received in its life. And my parents were confused. They said, "Anna, why are you crying?" And I told them everything. I told them about the shed, and my grandma leaving me outside the bingo hall in the cold, and that she said that my parents were never coming back for me. But my stupid grandma just told them that I was being a brat because she had been baking for her meeting at church and she wasn't letting me eat any of her red velvet cake. Until this day I have never looked at my grandma the same. The day that she finally puts her other foot in the grave will be the day that I throw the biggest party of my entire life, and I will put a sign next to her gravestone saying that this space is a gender-neutral toilet. So yeah, that's the story of how my grandma almost killed me.